Badass Bakes, Hair Concoction, Higher Education Accreditation Consulting, LACC Radiology Technology Department, and Malik Books. Your business deserves to be heard. Let KBLA Talk 1580 amplify your voice and connect you with our powerful community of listeners. Email smb@kbla1580.com today. That's smb@kbla1580.com. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Mommy, want to play a game with me and Dad?
Mommy's not feeling good.
You need to vaporize that cold.
Vaporize?
Yeah, with DayQuil VapoCool. It's DayQuil plus a rush of Vicks vapors.
Whoa.
Come on, honey. Let's let mommy rest.
You guys are amazing. And so is DayQuil VapoCool.
DayQuil VapoCool, the vaporizing daytime coughing, aching, fever, power through your day medicine. And to vaporize sore throat pain, try Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
It's been said that when someone you love has Parkinson's, you have Parkinson's.
The Parkinson's Foundation knows that the disease doesn't just affect the diagnosed. It affects everyone who supports and helps care for them.
If you have questions, the Parkinson's Foundation has answers.
We can help you understand the disease
and give you tips for living a better life.
Find your answers at parkinson.org or call 1-800-473-4636. The Parkinson's Foundation. Better lives together.
KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte, and delighted to welcome back my friend, your friend, our friend, Richard Fowler. He's a Fox News liberal contributor, also contributing writer to Forbes.com and a BET News.com political analyst. Welcome back, Richard.
Hey there, how are you?
Hanging in there. I think we're all adjusting to this new world that we live in with President-elect Trump getting in position and getting in position to advance his agenda relatively quickly. The Washington Post, shared an article earlier today entitled "Minority-Owned Firms Fear Crisis as Affirmative Action Programs Fall." In this article, they reported that both minority and women-owned businesses are bracing for the end of affirmative action in federal contracting and the potential loss of contracts worth at least $70 billion a year as government programs for disadvantaged firms have fallen to legal attacks over the past year. Richard, I've got to ask you, this seismic shift that is imminent, I've got to ask you, what do you make of it? I mean, it's happening. We know that a lot of Black folks and other minorities have built an extraordinary amount of wealth as contractors with the federal government. And we know that this is in the crosshairs of the incoming Trump administration. What do you make of it?
Well, I think it's an interesting conundrum that I think we find ourselves in this moment, because I think it's definitely possible that a future Trump administration can get rid of many of the programs that have benefited Black government contractors, which has made them, accumulate a lot of wealth. And I think in this moment, we should be very nervous about that. But it also requires us to go a little bit backwards to think about how we got here. Where we saw this, why this happened in history was because of former mayor in DC, Marion Barry, who first pushed the district government to open up programs to give Black contractors opportunities. The federal government modeled in many ways the program created by the district federal government and adopted it as part of its policies. And as a result, we've seen Black business owners benefit. Many of them live in Prince George's County, many of them live in Montgomery County, many of them live in our nation's capital. And they have become part of building Black wealth in this country. And we know over the past 4 years, even though this White House hasn't done the best job of talking about it, what we've seen Black wealth grow in this country over the past 4 years during the Biden administration. And so now the question is, for many of those gains made, what happens in a world where Trump rolls back a program that has helped be part of that change?
And I just want to note, at least according to this Washington Post article, as much as we want to think that a lot of this is happening because of Trump, George W. Bush has his fingerprints on this as well. In September, a federal judge in Kentucky partially blocked the Transportation Department's Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program, which has been operating for more than 4 decades, on the presumption that minorities and women are socially disadvantaged. In his opinion, Judge Gregory Van Tatenhove, a George W. Bush appointee, indicated that he would block the entire program from awarding contracts based on those presumptions. The program has 49,000 participants. And so we have certainly seen folks appointed by both Donald Trump and even George W. Bush go after some of these programs, whether we're talking about this Transportation Department program or the SBA's 8A program. But what's the Democrats' response, or what should be the Democrats' response to this as the transition of power begins?
Well, look, I think in this moment, Democrats have to be they have to put the hysteria on the shelf for a second and actually be very tactical and strategic in this moment. Because I think you have an administration, and when the first time that Donald Trump came in, I think that it was unexpected. And there's a lot of folks who are in his relative orbit didn't have a keen understanding on how the government functioned, right? They weren't former Bush government people. He sort of pushed many of those folks out of the party. And now we're in a world in which he's coming back to the White House. And there's no other better way to say it. Over the past 4 years, these people have been studying, and they've done a lot of studying. Whether you see that studying in what some believe are the future sort of plans for the Trump administration under Project 1025, or you see that studying in the America First, or I think it's America First inauguration transition plan, which has already sort of been out there. Both of them have a very clear indication of what they want to do, which is going to allow them to work a little bit faster. And so that means the ideal for Democrats to say, oh, well, it's going to take them a couple of years and we can win a chamber back, maybe in 2026. I think that's a little far off. So I think we need to begin to brace ourselves for what could happen and be very strategic and tactical in this moment of how do we respond.
And in Passive Prologue, we're going to see this sort of all things diversity, equity, and inclusion go global very quickly. Certainly with President-elect Trump's recent pick to be the next ambassador to the United Nations, Representative Elise Stefanik, according to multiple sources, has accepted the offer. Trump's nomination of Stefanik, who's been a longtime congressional ally, is his first cabinet pick after being reelected. Stefanik will need Senate confirmation to officially take up the post. But in case that name sounds familiar to folks, one of Stefanik's most prominent moments came last year during a congressional hearing with college presidents from Harvard University, the University of Pennsylvania, and MIT. During the hearing, she asked them whether calling for the genocide of Jews warranted disciplinary action. You might remember, Richard, that all 3 presidents waffled and dodged the question, instead offering legal responses without directly condemning calling for the genocide of Jews. 2 of those presidents, former Penn president Liz McGill and former Harvard president Claudine Gay, have since left their post. Should we expect a whole lot more of this, but on a global scale, with UN and future UN ambassador Elise Stefanik?
I think we can, right? But I think it's also very telling to me, at least, as somebody, as you know, I think what most journalists are trying to do in this moment is trying to figure out the pace and the structure of what will be a Trump presidency, is why this was one of like the announcements. I mean, obviously we know there's going to be a haphazard. They're not going to be as formulaic as we've seen 4 years ago where Biden sort of had teams that he announced at the same time. I think they're going to be just like how you saw today. As I just dropped it on Twitter. I also dropped Steve Miller on Twitter today, and I dropped this person. But I think it's very interesting that the UN ambassador drops first in a moment where a Trump foreign policy is going to look a lot different than a Biden foreign policy for a lot of different reasons, right? So the fact that you drop your UN ambassador almost even before you drop your Secretary of State, to me is very interesting. It could just be Trump's haphazard, like we'll get there by January 21st, so I'll do it my way. Or it could be some strategic signaling of what we know to already be happening, and the fact that he's already talking to world leaders and already sort of setting the course for what will be 4 years of the Trump presidency, the second one.
And speaking of policy, this one may come as a little bit of a surprise, especially to those that follow marijuana policy very closely. Trump plans to revoke many of Biden's policies, but a lot of people are asking, where does that leave marijuana? President-elect Trump is expected to come to the White House with this laundry list of policies he wants to change and reverse. We've talked a lot about it. We've seen a lot of reporting on it. The Biden administration has moved to ease longtime restrictions on cannabis. So what might Trump's arrival mean to push to legalize marijuana? There are signs that cannabis could be a rare issue on which Trump carries a Biden policy forward. Richard, what say you?
I think that sounds right to me. I mean, remember how he gets to the White House, right? He gets to the White House as part of this bro culture, right? A part of these small podcasts, twitchy universe. And I'm sure a lot of those people smoke a lot of weed, and to put it mildly. And so I think it's a way of him signaling, like, I'm your president too. And look, I think what this president's going to be sort of hamstrung with on both now and day one is he's going to have to put the fear that a lot of folks, 47% of the country right now voted against him. And of that 40%, I would say about half of those people who voted against him are in a case of panic in this moment. I mean, I was at a show recently in New York where I was covering the election, and there were literally people I went to go see the Suffragettes Broadway show, Suffs, and there were literally people in the audience in open tears, and as you know, the journalist in me being the fly on the wall, I heard people talk about this fear of going backwards, and I can't believe it happened again to us in this theater. And it, to me, said he's going to have to convince, in order for his presidency to be successful, right? And I'm rooting for America, might not like the man. He's going to have to convince those people that they don't have to cry anymore. And I think that's a very, 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 very high wall for this president to jump over in this moment where people's feelings of him are so entrenched. So legalizing marijuana, I think that might not be a far stretch for him to do it.
It may not be. I mean, and cannabis and marijuana, it's important to note, aren't directly mentioned in Project 2025, which, as you know, is an expansive text that's seen as laying out the conservative agenda for the next Republican administration. And you know what? I actually think that we shouldn't be surprised if the president-elect actually picks at pieces of Kamala Harris's economic agenda. Pay very close attention to the opportunity agenda that she created, particularly for Black men. I would not be surprised if he extracts components of that, makes them his own, and in doing so puts Democrats sort of on their heels as they gear up for the midterm elections and for 2028 election. Anything is possible with President-elect Donald Trump. That is for sure. Thank you, Richard Fowler, yet again for joining us here. We'll be calling on you in the coming days as the transition of power continues.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
Thank you. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. No more of the headlines that you need to know when we come forward.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Blindster is a family-run business that began in 2010, and we've sold millions of custom blinds, shades, and shutters and received over 100,000 five-star reviews. Don't hire an expensive pro. Do it yourself and save big at Blindster.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Chargers have won 3 straight. They beat Tennessee 27-17, a season-high 7 sacks for the Chargers defense. The Chargers are 6-3. The Rams are on Monday Night Football tonight. They play Miami at SoFi. The Rams are looking for their 4th straight win. 5:15 kickoff on ESPN. The Lakers have another injury concern with Anthony Davis. AD was hit in the eye in the 3rd quarter last night in the Lakers' 123-103 win over Toronto. He did not return. The Clippers take a 4-game winning streak into tonight's game at Oklahoma City, 5 p.m. tip-off. Top 5 teams in this week's AP Top 25 college football rankings: Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, and Tavis Smiley's Indiana Hoosiers. Tavis's alma mater is 10-0 for the first time in school history. This is also the first time in school history that Indiana is in the top 5. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
If we're the ones disproportionately impacted by these climate catastrophes, why should we be silent? Turning up the volume all year long on the climate conversation for KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Race, culture wars, political turf battles, criminal justice, and injustice. The courts. These are the conversations you won't hear elsewhere. My guests are leading journalists, celebrities, and sports figures, elected leaders, and influencers. They aren't afraid to get into it and say the quiet part out loud. With Ariba Martin in real time, your commute just became the most engaging part of your day. Tune in weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. or find us on YouTube. Ariba Martin in real time, when you want it straight, no chaser.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Add confidence to every holiday adventure and get it done with a rugged and capable Chevy truck or SUV. Find your red tag. Get 0% APR financing for 36 months on select popular Chevy models when you finance with GM Financial. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
Offer available on all 2025 Equinox and 2024 Silverado, Equinox EV, Blazer EV, and Silverado EV models. Monthly payment is $2,860 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 22.2%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take me retail delivery by 12/2/24.
In California, the use of man-made stone is causing workers to get silicosis. Silicosis is a fatal disease caused by breathing in silica dust from cutting, polishing, or grinding man-made stone. To prevent silicosis, employers must provide their workers proper equipment, including water systems and NIOSH-approved respirators. Stop dusty and deadly practices. Learn more at worksafewithsilica.org. This is a message from Cal OSHA.
The following is not a contest and is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways for the purpose of soliciting sales of vacation ownership. For complete details, please visit fvgradio.com. If you want a complimentary stay in Cancun at a luxury resort, then Family Vacation Getaways may have your ticket to paradise. We're giving away a 5-day and 4-night stay to the first qualified 50 callers who can name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. An animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. Do you know it? Call now, 800-868-6431, 800-868-6431. You may also be eligible for an exciting bonus vacation to Orlando, Florida for just $398. And don't worry about anything ruining your plans. We can extend your travel up to 18 months. Name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird, and you may be eligible to get a complimentary Cancun resort stay and an optional bonus vacation to Orlando for just $398. What are you waiting for? Call 800-868-6431. Again, call 800-868-6431 and give us your answer.
An official message from Medicare.
Couple more minutes, and we'll start this month's book club.
You know, I usually love a plot twist, but this year, I'm comparing my options during Medicare open enrollment.
You can't assume your current health or drug plan is the best one for you.
And you got to make sure your drugs are covered. That's important.
So is saving money.
Review all your options at Medicare.gov. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Broadcasting live from Leimert Park, USA. Welcome back to your home for unapologetically progressive radio, KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte, wishing all of our leaders, learners, and listeners that also happen to be veterans a very happy Veterans Day. We try to do our part throughout the year to honor our veterans and their sacrifice in defending our democracy and keeping us safe. When I think of our veterans, I don't have to think outside my family. And I'm thinking about my brother, John Quay Corte, Lieutenant Commander in the U.S. Navy. I'm also thinking about my uncle, U.S. Army Staff Sergeant David Lee Thomas, who's also probably listening right now, as well as my Uncle Charles Thomas. And there's a long list of veterans in my family, and chances are there's probably a list of veterans in your family as well. And while Veterans Day is really special, I think it's on us to make sure that we are showing our appreciation to our veterans each and every day. And I'm not alone in that. Margaritaville at Sea is offering free cruises in honor of Veterans Day. USA Today is reporting that Margaritaville at Sea, is doling out more free cabins to first responders. The cruise line is offering double occupancy staterooms to U.S. military service members, both active duty and veterans, and a guest at no charge in honor of Veterans Day. Nurses, firefighters, EMS personnel, police, and educators are also eligible. Hey, Margaritaville. Tens of thousands of guests have received free cruises from Margaritaville at Sea's Heroes Sail Free program. Following its launch in 2022, the line previously ran out of free cabins due to the offer's popularity, but it is releasing a new round in time for the holidays. The deal is good for ocean view cabins on Paradise and interior cabins aboard Islander. On select sailings in 2025, passengers can pay to upgrade their accommodations based on availability. Qualifying passengers will also get a 20% discount for all retail offers on any cabin, any day, all year long. And so travelers can book through the line's website. So that's where you have to go to. You have to go to the Margaritaville at Sea website and book your cabin. And spread the word, to all the veterans that you know. And again, nurses, firefighters, EMS personnel, police, and educators are also eligible. And so I would handle that quick, fast, and in a hurry. In other veterans news, again, when I talk about celebrating our veterans, it's more than just on Veterans Day. We need to have a consciousness that supports veterans year round, especially in overcoming some of the issues that make life more difficult for them. Veterans with VA loans hurt by COVID forbearance and excluded from the VASP rescue plan. Let me explain, as NPR has reported that they've learned that thousands of veterans appear to have been hurt by the VA's missteps and left stranded in higher cost mortgages. According to documents obtained under the Freedom of Information Act, at least 1,300 veterans ended up in loans that raised their monthly payment by more than 50%. This all started when, after COVID hit. And it's important to note that there's a mortgage forbearance that gives a homeowner a way to temporarily stop paying their mortgage and And then when they get back on their feet financially, they're supposed to be able to resume paying and be current on their loan. Well, a forbearance is not supposed to result in a massive increase in a homeowner's mortgage payments, because the whole point is to help somebody who is struggling to pay in the first place. And so this has not been happening, or this has been happening to veterans. And it's important to note that we got to do better. We got to do better by our vets. These vets say that they need help, but the VA says it can't help thousands of vets it left stranded. That math ain't math then. And so, we've got to do more than just say Happy Veterans Day and lay wreath. We've got to show up and make life easier for our vets, not more difficult. Speaking of our vets, I saw this opinion piece in the Washington Post. As we all know, Veterans Day is a federal holiday firmly fixed on the calendar, but this year's observance seems even more fitting, coming on the heels of the presidential election. To be sure, Veterans Day honors the men and women who've worn the uniform in the U.S. Armed Forces, but in addition to giving thanks for their service, Veterans Day also expresses appreciation for sacrifice and fulfillment of duty. Those three words, service, sacrifice, and duty, should be the guiding principles of the new team that assumes command of the ship of the state next January. But will the spirit of Veterans Day carry over to the administration of President-elect Donald Trump? Well, DC Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton hopes so. And in advance of Veterans Day, Norton introduced her annual resolution honoring DC citizens, past, present, and those who have served and are serving in America, most notably without voting representation in Congress or full local self-government. Norton's resolution encourages congressional action on legislation, giving district citizens unimpeded control over local affairs and full and equal rights in Congress. Can't pass up an opportunity to make this Veterans Day more to better equip the people of Washington, D.C. And affirm the lives and dignity of all the people who live here in D.C., including but not limited to our veterans. That's what D.C. Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton is getting at. And so, have you ever visited a veterans base or a military base? I certainly have visited a number of military bases over the years. Our veterans, they work hard. Seeing our veterans, out on the streets, looking for food, looking for a few bucks. It serves as a reminder that we've got more work to do. We've got more work to do. And so, major salute to the folks over at Starbucks that are offering free coffee, as I understand it. Major salute to IHOP that's offering free pancake combos for veterans. Major salute to the free breakfast at Denny's for Veterans Day, and the free thank you meal over at Golden Corral. Also, a big salute to Applebee's, who's serving free meals for veterans. And over at BJ's Restaurant and Brew House, apparently a free Pizookie is available. I think, isn't that the big cookie? It's about as big as a pizza. I think that's it. The free Pizookie. Yeah, that's it. And then, of course, major salute. My mouth is watering. In and Out, for all the folks on the West Coast, is also showing our veterans some love. And so let's do that, folks. Let's spread the word to the veterans in our lives. Send them a text. Give them a call. Point them in the direction of where all this free stuff is available. Because as we know, a lot of our veterans carry the burden of that sacrifice that may show up sometimes in the form of PTSD, which might make reintegrating into the workforce more difficult, reintegrating back into their families more difficult. And so here on this show, we believe very deeply that we're in this together. We believe in the strength and power of community, which includes our veterans. And so I hope to every veteran that is listening, including the veterans in my own family, I hope you feel the love today and every day, because the sacrifice that you've made makes our lives better, not just today, but every day. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. The quiet part out loud. When we come forward, I'll give you a hint. We're celebrating 2 extraordinary Black women, maybe 3 extraordinary Black women of different generations. You don't want to miss that when we come forward.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
Whether you're going over the river and through the woods in the capable Silverado 1500, getting the choir to church on time in the 3-row Traverse.
Thank you.
Or driving cross town to deliver your famous Cajun spiced holiday turkey in the Equinox EV, America's most affordable EV with a 315 plus mile range. Add confidence to every holiday adventure and get it done with a rugged and capable Chevy truck or SUV. Find your red tag. Get 0% APR financing for 36 months on select popular Chevy models when you finance with GM Financial. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
Offer available on all 2025 Equinox and 2024 Silverado, Equinox EV, Blazer EV, and Silverado EV models. Monthly payment is $28.60 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 22.2%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 12/2/24.
Thank you.
Moments like making my kids my famous meatballs mean a lot to me. But after being diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, or MBC, which is breast cancer that has spread to other parts of the body, they mean even more. I take Ibrance, palbociclib.
Ibrance 125 milligram tablets with an aromatase inhibitor is for adults with HR-positive, HER2-negative MBC as the first hormonal-based therapy. Ask your doctor about Ibrance and visit Ibrance.com. Ibrance may cause low white blood cell counts that may lead to serious infections. Ibrance may cause severe inflammation of the lungs. Both of these can lead to death. Tell your doctor right away if you have new or worsening symptoms, including trouble breathing, shortness of breath, cough, or chest pain. Before taking Ibrance, tell your doctor if you have fever, chills, or other signs of infection, liver or kidney problems, are or plan to become pregnant, or are breastfeeding. Common side effects include low red blood cell and low platelet counts, infections, tiredness, nausea, sore mouth, abnormalities in liver blood tests, diarrhea, hair thinning or loss, vomiting, rash, and loss of appetite.
Our daughter Jessie loves playing detective.
A clue.
But since we discovered she has sensitive skin, we've been playing detective too.
We thought the problem was our puppy.
But it was actually our old detergent.
Aha.
So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle. Tide cleans better than the leading competitive free detergent, and it doesn't leave behind irritating residues.
Plus, Tide Free and Gentle has no dyes or perfumes, so it's gentle on her skin.
Case closed.
If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Free and Gentle.
This holiday season, Capital One reminds you to give yourself the gift of 1.5% cash back with the Capital One Quicksilver Card.
Can I earn 1.5% cash back on birds?
Birds?
What if you sent your true love 2 turtle doves plus a partridge in a pear tree?
Sure. But why would anyone want that?
The song was very convincing.
Earn 1.5% cash back on all your holiday purchases with the Capital One Quicksilver Card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
The smarter way to clean your floors. It's time to make the swap. Swiffer Power Mop.
Introducing the new Swiffer Power Mop, the all-in-one tool that gives you a mop and bucket clean in half the time. The solution's built right in, so no heavy bucket, and the pad has hundreds of scrubbing strips to get deep into grout. Don't mop harder, mop smarter.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
You got a big mouth.
Hello, Joe, you're up. Welcome. We're unapologetically progressive, and we don't black down.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We are celebrating 3 generations of some pretty extraordinary Black women. You might have heard of one of them that we lost just this past weekend, Judith Jamison. There are few more indelible in the history of African American dance. Judith Jamison, regal and passionate in white leotard and long ruffled skirts, punching the air in Cry. That's the Alvin Ailey piercing solo about Black womanhood. That searing 1971 piece made her an international star, but it was truly only the beginning of Jamison's decades-long career. Atop modern dance, on stage and off, is Ailey's hand-picked successor. Beginning in 1989, she led his namesake company for more than 20 years, helping it to become the most successful modern dance troupe in the nation. And Jamison also brought the company not only continued global exposure and crossover cultural appeal, but economic stability and growth, putting it in a stratosphere that Ailey couldn't even imagine. Taking the reins as artistic director upon Ailey's death at the age of 58, Jamison introduced new works and choreography, but also made sure to keep front and center her predecessor's undisputed masterpiece, Revelations, a 1960 classic that has defined the company and powered its success like few others, if any, in the history of dance. We are thinking about the brilliance, the genius, the rich legacy of Miss Judith Jamison, who died on November 9th at the age of 81. And speaking of another artist and genius, Beyonce is making news, and it's not just about having been nominated for more Grammys than any other person ever. She's at a total of 99 Grammy nominations over the course of her career, leading the pack in the upcoming Grammys celebration. But NBC News is reporting that Yale is introducing a class on Beyonce's political and cultural impact. That's right. Yale University is getting information with a course dedicated to studying Beyonce. Starting this upcoming spring semester, Yale will offer a class titled Beyonce Makes History: Black Radical Tradition History, Culture, Theory, and Politics Through Music. The aim, according to its course description, is to use her work as a lens through which to examine Black intellectual thought and activism. In the latest college course on pop culture, inspired themes by focusing on a global music superstar, as universities around the world have embraced classes on the cultural impact of celebrities, including Beyonce, Taylor Swift, and Lady Gaga. Following Beyonce's innovations and influence from her self-titled 2013 album to her latest, Cowboy Carter, students will analyze her albums, performance politics, and concert films. And by looking at her mid-career repertoire, Yale's new course will explore scholarly work and cultural text across Black feminist theory, philosophy, and anthropology, as well as art history, performance studies, and musicology. That's what the course description says. The class, in case you were wondering, is going to be taught by writer and Black studies scholar Daphne Brooks, who co-founded Yale's Black Sound and the Archive Working Group, a community of faculty and students working to explore the untapped variety of Black sound archives. That sounds like a class I certainly would like to audit. Doesn't it sound like a class you'd like to audit? I don't know. Maybe they'll make this class online and maybe open it up a little bit. But I always think it's a great thing when people are able to take people, places, and things that are happening in pop culture and wed those things with theory, with a theoretical framework that helps people to understand what undergirds and what's happening in the now, and help to explain what is happening in the now. And so kudos to Yale University for supporting such a course. We can't wait to hear how it goes. And rounding out our three incredible Black women of three very different generations that we're celebrating today, the survivor of the Tulsa Race Massacre, Mother Randall, marks her 110th birthday. Leslie Bedingfield Randall, known as Mother Randall, is one of the last two known living survivors of the Tulsa Race Massacre, and on Sunday, she celebrated her 110th birthday during the commemoration event in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where she was surrounded by family, friends, and members of the community. ABC News is reporting that Randall, who has spoke out against censoring Black history and education, was born in 1914. She was a young girl when she survived the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre, a deadly attack by a white mob on Tulsa's Greenwood section, a thriving Black neighborhood known as Black Wall Street. Viola Fletcher, known as Mother Fletcher, who is also 110 years old, is the only other known remaining survivor of the massacre after Hugh Van Ellis, known as Uncle Red, died October 9th, 2023 at 102. Randall and Fletcher's family members met for the first time. Can you believe that? For the first time last month with detectives from the DOJ's cold case unit after the department announced September 30th, the first ever federal review of the Tulsa Race Massacre, an attack that Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, Kristen Clark, referred to as, quotes, one of the deadliest episodes of mass racial violence in the nation's history. And I know I said I was going to give you three incredible, inspiring Black women of different generations. I'm going to give you a bonus here. Harriet Tubman is posthumously named a general in a Veterans Day ceremony. Revered abolitionist Harriet Tubman, who's the first woman to oversee an American military action during a time of war, was posthumously awarded the rank of general today. Dozens gathered on Veterans Day at the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad State Park in Maryland's Dorchester County for a formal ceremony making Tubman a one-star brigadier general in the state's National Guard. Governor Westmore called the occasion not just a great day for Tubman's home state, but for all of the U.S., and we agree. We'll have to leave it there. My thanks to the entire village helps us produce a more perfect union each and every day. Our executive producer, Tavis Smiley, our show producer, Robert Battles, our sound engineer, Miles Lowe, and our podcast publishing guru, Odell Bodie. Remember, don't panic organized. Do what you can from where you are with what you have, and have a happy Veterans Day while you're at it. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte, and you've been listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA